I'd like to turn now to procedures used during voting hours. It'll be really important for you to read all the instructional material that you have provided for you. Generally, most questions can be answered by reading that information, but certainly if you have any questions or if any questions remain after reviewing it, feel free to call the office. There should be no delay in the voting process. Voters will begin being processed and voting at 6 a.m. sharp, and there's an instructional guide giving each station responsibilities and duties that you can post at each station from your notebook. Okay, I'd like to now turn to Station 1. At Station 1, election judges are required to offer demonstrations on the laminated ballot using a dry erase marker. There's a narrative for the instructions that you're required. Primarily, you want to instruct the voter to fill in the oval. Utilizing the 3-ring binder or your notebook, locate your precinct kit and use that to help you identify voters as they come in. When the first voter comes in, ask the voter to state his or her name and his address. Repeat that information to the judges at Station 2. Locate the voter's name in your precinct list and print the voter's name on your verification stub. You should also ensure that the voter has not voted early or absentee. That list is located in your notebook that provides people who have voted early. If someone comes in and would like to vote but is on the list, that person may not vote unless he or she surrenders their ballot. A new law has allowed for voters who have not returned their ballot and can say so under oath to fill out a provisional ballot. Provisional ballots are never entered into the tabulator, and that will be reviewed at a later time in the course. Once you've printed the voter's name on the ballot verification stub, along with the precinct, hand the ballot verification stub to the judges at Station 2. The judges at Station 2 are made up of a Republican and a Democratic judge. A Republican and Democratic judge must be at Station 2 at all times. Once the judges at Station 2 receive the ballot verification stub, they should locate the name of the voter in their voter poll book. Have the voter sign their name under the signature box. And once completed, the judges from each political party should compare that signature with the scanned signature located in the stored signature box. The judges should mark the style on the ballot verification stub. And again, that's located at the far left-hand box in the voter poll book. The style indicates the type of ballot the voter will receive. Once you've verified the voter's signature, one of the judges should initial in the voter poll book that the signature has been verified. Mark an X in the far right-hand box to indicate voted and pass the stub onto the judge at Station 3. The judge at Station 3 is responsible for ensuring that the appropriate ballot is given to the voter. It's important that you make sure when you receive the stub, the ballot verification stub from the judges at Station 2, that the name on that stub is the same as the person that you're issuing the ballot to. A lot of times in bigger elections, some voters may get out of line, so you want to make sure that you're issuing the appropriate ballot to the correct person. And again, make sure that you process one voter at a time. You should compare your style number on the ballot verification stub with the appropriate style on the ballot. Initial that ballot under judge's initials with a red ink pen and issue the initialed ballot, a ballot privacy cover, and a voter pen with the cap off to the voter. politely direct that voter to a voting booth. You should then take the ballot verification stub and place it on the spindle, numbering it consecutively. If for any reason that you're not sure of the correct ballot style, or you think there may be any other issues, contact your election authority. It's also important to remember to never pre-initial ballots. Process one voter and one ballot at a time. If for any reason a voter spoils their ballot, provide another to the voter. You simply take the spoiled ballot, provide a spoiled ballot envelope to the voter, and instruct that voter to place the spoiled ballot into the envelope and retain and return that with your election supplies. It's important to note a spoiled ballot was issued in your voter poll book. If you do issue the voter another ballot, be sure it's important to remember not to make an additional ballot verification stub, as this will affect your numbering system. During the day, periodically check the number of stubs agrees with the total number of ballots cast by adding the OS and the TS unit totals, and that'll agree with the top number on your stubs. The judge at Station 4 is responsible for ensuring that all ballots that are placed into the ballot box by the voter are initialed. The judge at Station 4 should stand at least 4 feet away from the ballot box and ensure that the voter inserts their voted ballot into the OS tabulator. Ensure that the privacy covers just shows the initials so that the initials can be inspected. If for some reason it's not, kindly direct the voter to lower their ballot privacy cover to see the initials. There may be situations where once the ballot is inserted into the tabulator, that the ballot is rejected by the tabulator. Simply ask the voter to turn the ballot in a different orientation to ensure that the ballot is processed through the tabulator. After the voter votes, be sure to issue the voter and I voted sticker. In the event that the ballot is returned again after placing the ballot in a different orientation, read the LCD screen on the optical scan unit to determine the reason why the ballot was rejected. If the ballot was overvoted, it will indicate overvoted ballot. In the event that the voter would like another ballot to correct his ballot, the voter can be issued another ballot. If for some reason the voter wants that ballot to count as cast, the election judge at Station 4 should depress the yes button while inserting the ballot into the tabulator, and all the votes will be counted except for the overvoted ballot. If there's ever a situation during the day when ballots cannot be inserted into the optical scan unit, the auxiliary bin should be used and voting should never stop. Now, what we have covered so far are voters who are registered to vote at the address that they live. You've seen a step-by-step demonstration of processing that voter. There may be situations where the voter doesn't live at the address he's registered at. Where voters are registered to vote at the address that they live, certainly they can vote a full ballot. If a voter moves more than 30 days before the election, before October 7th, within the jurisdiction, and did not change his or her registration, that voter is entitled to vote a federal ballot only. And that step is a step-by-step process as a voter would who votes a full ballot. But in addition to the ballot distribution chart being spindled, there's a fail-safe affidavit that must be completed and signed by the voter. This address correction for a fail-safe voter, again, must be spindled with the ballot verification stub. In other situations, voters who have moved more than 30 days outside the jurisdiction are not entitled to vote. An affidavit is a sworn statement made in writing before an election judge. Under certain circumstances, a person may be required to sign one or more affidavits before being permitted to vote. These affidavits may also require supporting affidavits. When a voter completes and signs an affidavit, marks the appropriate affidavit voted by affidavit square on the application, all affidavits and supporting affidavits are spindled with the voter's application unless directed otherwise by the election authority. Supporting affidavits are usually found at the bottom or on the reverse side of the affidavit being used. On a supporting affidavit, a witness must swear that he or she knows the challenged voter personally, knows the voter in question to be registered in the precinct in which he or she is attempting to vote, and knows that the challenged voter meets the legal requirements for voting as entitled to vote. In lieu of a supporting affidavit, the voter may provide two forms of identification showing the address of his or her current residence. In completing the affidavit, print the voter's name, residence address, date of birth, including their driver's license number or the last four digits of their Social Security card or their state ID card number. It's important that the voter sign their name in the signature of voter box. The voter affidavit is a multi-use form for different situations that you may come across. Let's talk a little bit about situations that require voters to sign affidavits. In line 1, the box 1 is used for the address change where a voter has changed his residence address within the past 27 days. There, you require a supporting affidavit or two forms of identification are required. The identification provided must show a current residence address. If a situation occurs where the voter has changed their residence to the address within the past 30 days, a supporting affidavit or two forms of identification are required. If the voter changes their name to the name signed above in the same election precinct, a supporting affidavit or two forms of ID are required. The supporting affidavit that we talked about earlier is located at the bottom of the voter affidavit form. On the back of the voter affidavit is an affidavit where assisted voting is required. A voter may have anyone of his choosing, it cannot be their employer or union representative, assist that voter in voting the ballot, only after the affidavit of assisted voter is completed. If the voter does not have a person to assist them in voting, that voter may request the election judges to provide assistance. It must be a judge from each political party, and the judges must vote the ballot as directed by the voter. There may be situations where a voter claims that they're registered to vote, but does not appear on the list of registered voters in your precinct. It'll be important when that happens to call the county clerk's office and verify that person's registration. If for some reason the voter still maintains that they're registered to vote, and after direction from the county clerk's office, that voter may vote a provisional ballot. And remember, the provisional ballot is never inserted in the tabulator, but is hand carried to the county clerk's office for determination as to whether or not that person is registered to vote. There are 6 possible circumstances where a voter may vote a provisional ballot. The first situation occurs where the voter's name does not appear on the voter registration list, but claims he or she is a registered voter. In the event that a person is challenged and that challenge is upheld in the precinct, again, a voter may vote a provisional ballot. If a court extends the time for voting beyond the time established for closing, and also if a person registers to vote by mail, did not provide the identification, cannot do so at the time of their voting on election day, that person may also vote a provisional ballot. In the event that the voter's name appears on the early voting list and did not return his or her ballot, that voter, under a new law, may now vote a provisional ballot. If the voter received an absentee ballot and did not return it to the county clerk's office, that person may vote a provisional ballot. But it's important to call the county clerk's office to verify the entitlement of a provisional ballot for that voter. At that time, instructions will be given on the type of ballot to be issued. And of course, there are situations where a person is not entitled to vote. And that list includes, if a person is not registered to vote, he or she may not vote. Individuals who have moved more than 30 days outside the jurisdiction, a voter applying to vote on election day whose name appears on the list of having been issued an absentee or early or grace period ballot shall not be permitted to vote in the precinct. At 6:30 p.m., election judges should stand outside the polling place and announce that the polls will be closing in 30 minutes. At 7 p.m., an election judge should announce outside the polling place that the polls are closed. Anyone standing in line as of 7 o'clock may be entitled to vote. And of course, if there is a line, an election judge should stand at the end of the line, marking the last person that's eligible to vote for that election.